Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Easy Weeknight Cooking with Heart's Desire Spice Blends. And tonight we are going to be doing an easy peach chai galette. Now, a chai peach galette is basically a pie done really, really simple. So all we need is one pie crust, some peaches, some spices, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of sugar, and you're done. So we're going to be starting off with 3 cups of peaches, 1 pie crust. Now this can be homemade or it can be store-bought, doesn't really matter. And I'll be rolling this out as much as half a cup of flour to roll this out, make sure nothing's sticking, and also another tablespoon to go into our filling, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of sugar, up to about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, my lovelies. Lemon juice is a natural flavor enhancer, and about half a teaspoon of our blend of the month, Chai Spice. It adds such a great, delicate flavor to so many wonderful dishes. At the end of the month, after we're done with the Oran Moore mead and food pairing on the 26th, go ahead and attend if you can. It's going to be fantastic. I've already tried these things. We are going to be giving you a recipe video on honey chai glazed chicken. It's so good. Anyway, go ahead and get our pie crust. Now, a couple of notes on that. Parchment, an absolute necessity. You see, parchment is one of these cooking necessities when you don't want things to stick. I've tried parchment, I've tried wax paper, so many other things. And when it comes to things like pie crusts, parchment is your jam because honestly, wax paper just doesn't cut it. I've tried and tried and tried. There is no escaping the parchment paper. Go ahead and get the real stuff. Put the parchment straight onto a cutting board. We are going to be turning this pie crust out onto a dusted parchment. Go ahead and dust your parchment with a bit of flour. You notice I'm holding my hand well above the parchment. That allows the flour to actually dust the parchment in a wider spread and much more evenly, so you don't get pockets of flour here and pockets of flour there. If you're using a pre-made dough, that is fantastic. In the description, I've got pie crust dough recipe for you. If you're using a pre-made pie crust, go ahead and just flatten that out all across your parchment. You do not necessarily need to dust because there's already some sort of starch or dust on that. But when you're dealing with fresh, definitely dust your parchment. And we're going to dust the top as well. Just a quick little dusting there. And my favorite rolling pin. So this is a pretty heavy rolling pin. So I've got to be kind of ginger as to how I do this, but go ahead and roll out your pie crust into a roughly circular shape. And it does not have to be perfect. Trust me, it does not, because we're going to be folding the edges of this over the top of our pie. Now, a galette is basically a pie with only one crust, where all the edges are folded over the top of your filling. So it's a very, very easy dessert. And you don't have to deal with 2 crusts. You don't have to deal with a whole lot of other things. So go ahead and roll that out. A heavy rolling pin really does make it a lot easier. And there you go. You've got a good sized circle here with about 1 cup of flour, half a cup of butter, enough water to just kind of make everything come together. I've got myself a baking tin right over here on the stove, so that allows us to get back on this surface. Right now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting together what goes onto the peaches. Now, my 3 cups of peaches are already measured out and ready to go. What's going to be going into here is everything else other than our crust and our peaches. We're going to go ahead and whisk those together really quick and pour it on top of the peaches, fold everything together, get the peaches nicely coated, and just slap it in the middle of our pie crust, fold the edges over, and we're done. Seriously, how easier can you get? So we are going to start off with 1 to 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now, I tend to go light on sugar, especially with delicate things like peaches. But I tasted these peaches, and honestly, this batch of peaches wasn't the greatest. So it's going to need a little extra sugar. It's going to need a little extra everything. And the greatest thing about doing something like this is the sugar, the lemon juice, and the chai spices just bring out so much flavor. It's amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and use 2 tablespoons of sugar. If you're using fresh peaches from your own tree or from the farmer's market, you can get away with 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's it. Done. And 1 tablespoon of flour. Now this is gonna help everything become a really nice cohesive sauce around your peaches rather than something really, really runny later on. And we want that. We want a really pretty sauce there. I'm gonna throw in my chai spice, 1/2 teaspoon. Before I do anything else, I've got everything, all my dry ingredients in there. I'm gonna mix it up, just getting everything put together. And then I'm gonna throw in my about half to a full lemon's worth of juice. That's 2 to 3 tablespoons. And it makes a really gorgeous little sauce right there. Really nice sauce. And that is one of the reasons why I've got a scraper here. And we're going to want to fold that into our peaches so that we don't break up the peaches. Now, a word on peaches. You're going to want to get your farm-grown peaches local if you can get them from your own tree, or you're going to try to find a really good brand from the freezer section. Make sure they're good and ripe and flavorful. But this can also dress up non-flavorful peaches. I would hesitate to use canned, honestly. I would, because I find those are not as flavorful. You don't get the bright notes that just remind you of biting into a gorgeous peach. And that's what this really reminds me of. This recipe reminds me of biting into one of the world's best peaches. You can leave the skins on if you like and just go ahead and slice them up. And that's going to add a little extra pectin into your galette, which pectin actually makes that sauce thicker, which is why it's used in canning. It makes sauces really, really thick, kind of like starch does. And you can do that, or if you find that makes things a little on the bitter side, go ahead and peel your peaches. So right now, we are going to go ahead and put this nice little sauce right into our peaches. I will also say that if you are gluten intolerant or trying to keep things on the low starch scale, you can use a gluten-free pie crust, and you can use flaxseed instead of flour in your peaches. It works. So well-coated peaches right there. So wonderful. Time to bring your pie crust right back. And I've got this on a baking pan already. And we are going to heap these peaches into the center. Go ahead and just spoon them out. Try to save all that wonderful liquid for later. Otherwise, it's going to run everywhere. Go ahead and heap them right into the center on top of themselves. Oh, would you look at that? And we don't want all that sauce running everywhere. So here's where you're going to be going quickly. Fold the parchment and your pie crust over the edges just like so. And you're going to basically encase your peaches with this pie crust. There we go. And one last one. And now that everything's together, we're going to squish these folds together. Just squish them together on top of the peaches. There we go. And that, my friends, is a peach galette, where things are just folded over the top and then you squish these folds together. Put this in a 475-degree oven right down here for 45 to 50 minutes, or until, you're gonna love this, golden brown and bubbly. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my gosh, and the smells. Oh, the smells are so good. It's flaky. It's buttery. It's very peachy. So when you're cutting this, go ahead and cut it just like a pie. But you don't need the pie tin. Cool. Let's see here. Oh, beautiful. Just beautiful. Would you look at that? Oh, and it's still steaming. Oh my gosh. You've got a really good amount of brightness in the peaches, and you can see some of those wonderful spices right on top as the top actually browned a little bit. The edges, oh my gosh, look at that. Is that wonderful or what? So I've got to try this. Oh yeah. The spices do not drown out the peaches. Instead, the spices and the lemon juice, only a little bit of sugar lifts up the flavor of the peaches and increases the flavor of the peaches and just tones down any of the really, really sour notes very, very well, and just makes this like peach heaven. Oh my gosh. These are the best peach pies I've ever made, and we wanted to share it with you. So from our house to yours, that is an easy and fantastic peach galette. So you guys keep things tasty. We will see you next week from Bayberry Inn in Ashland. Francesca and I are going to be playing together in the kitchen, so don't miss that one, 6 o'clock Tuesday. Have a great one, and our chai spice is still 15% off. Heartspice.com.